Come tour my Zone 5B garden in August. This year I did a combination of both cut flowers and vegetable gardening. I definitely centered my focus around the cut flowers, but I also like to eat what I grow, so I threw in some vegetables as well. Okay, so this is the entrance of the garden, and I have my poppies and foxglove just sporadically planted in these two beds here. When I planted foxglove, this was definitely a rookie move. I didn't know that they were a biennial, which means that they come up and bloom in 2 years. Continuing on by this trellis, I have my pole beans, and these are dahlias that I took cuttings of, started tubers. The reason I did this is to multiply dahlia varieties that I wanted more of, and it's a very cost-effective way to do that instead of just buying more tubers, which tubers can be very expensive. So this is a great way to get more dahlias for cheap or free, really. I have my random zucchini plant because I ran out of space and just planted it somewhere that I could find space, and it's kind of taking over. These are calendula that reseeded. On this side of the bed, I have vegetables. I have zucchini plants, and I forgot how huge they get, so they kind of took over. Then I have my broccoli. Those are doing pretty well. I like to maximize my space, and I kind of overplanted. I have peppers over here, which are getting completely overtaken by the zucchini. Sage, two different types because they're just such a pretty plant. I'm hoping that they'll come back next year. We will see. I would love to put them in bouquets. One carrot plant that made it, and I haven't picked the carrot yet. I'm excited to see what that is. Maybe I should just pick it now for the video. I have not had success growing carrots in the past, and obviously I didn't have success this year because I only have one successful plant, but I think my seeds were just old. Let's see if it's okay. Yep, see, this is why I have not had success with carrots. I think my soil is not loose enough, and they just are super short and such a disappointment. Continuing on. Last year I grew potatoes, and this year I grew potatoes, but double the amount because I wished I had grown more last year. These are actually very close to being ready to dig up, which is always so much fun. Potatoes are so easy to plant and so rewarding. Next year, though, I will not waste space planting my potatoes in the fenced-in area. I will plant them outside of the fenced-in area because I don't necessarily need a fence around them. Bunnies and deer don't eat them. The bugs eat them. So I can just keep them outside and use the fenced-in space for things like sunflowers that the deer absolutely love and want to devour. So I'll grow more sunflowers inside the fence and utilize my fenced-in area for things that need to be protected from deer and bunnies, not potatoes. So potatoes, moving out. In this section here, I have my beefsteak tomatoes. As you can see, they are getting close to becoming ripe. I didn't keep up on watering them like I should, so they're kind of starting to dry out, and they're falling over. I do like this way of supporting them. I just didn't keep up on pruning, I guess you could say. I always plant my basil right next to my tomatoes because they are companion plants. If you don't know this already, there is indeterminate tomato plants and determinate tomato plants. Indeterminate is usually what heirloom tomato plants are, and those will just continue growing and growing until frost or all throughout the summer. So they have a tendency to go wild, and they are hard to support. Determinate plants are usually bred to be that way, and they will not go as wild, and they will stop growing at a certain point. I have my oregano that I actually planted last year, and it's coming back so beautifully this year. Here I succession planted beans. I planted these in July, and these are bush beans, not pole beans, and I will be harvesting beans in the fall because I planted them in the middle of summer. I will definitely do that again next year. Here I have my strawberries that completely took over this area. Next year or this fall, I will be digging all of these up and moving them into their own box outside the garden because they are unruly and they need space in between them so that airflow can get between the plants and so that they won't rot. So this trellis was meant to be all pole beans, but we had a very wet spring and some of my beans in the soil actually rotted. They did not germinate and they got too much water, which is a problem that I did not expect to have. So I planted cucumbers in the spaces that I had empty spots. So I'm not as happy with my trellis gardening this year as I wanted to be. I wanted to have it exploding with bean plants. Next year I will try again. Okay, so continuing on, we have feverfew. I started this by seed inside. It's starting to be on its way out here in zone 5B in August. It's just losing its color and dying back, but I am really hoping this comes back next year. It's a tender perennial. This was such a fun addition for bouquets. I have more tomatoes here with my basil. This basil is a lemon basil variety. It smells so lovely, and I actually grew it for bouquets and not eating, but you can absolutely eat it. And then I have my sunflowers. I planted enough sunflowers here for both me and any possible bunnies that would come in early in the spring to try and get them. And sure enough, some of the bunnies did come and eat them, but I planted enough for both me and them. This is how sweet peas look in August. Terrible. I just haven't taken these out because I just don't have anything to replace them with, and I just honestly haven't enough time. I tried to grow bells of Ireland this year and it was a huge fail. I probably try again next year and baby them a little bit more, but I am not probably going to skip it next year just to save myself the heartache and work. I have heard of people having very great success with bells of Ireland. Here, they're all dried out and terrible. I think I'm just going to give up on bells of Ireland next year. As you can see, the weeds, crabgrass just came right in and raided it because I ignored this area. Okay, let's talk snapdragons. Right now, this section looks very sparse because I've been picking them, but they will continue to bloom for me until the fall because they love the cooler weather. They were a spring flower, and there are different types of snapdragons that will bloom early, spring, mid-spring, summer, and I guess maybe late summer. I'm not quite sure, but I am in love with this flower. It takes a little extra TLC to grow because you have to start them in zone 5B inside in like February. I started mine in March. I was a little bit late, but I did 2 packets of seeds. I will definitely be doing at least 4 packets next year because they're just such a rewarding flower. And I love that they continue to come back after cutting them. They're a cut and come again flower. Okay, so that is my garden, fenced in garden. There's a lot of work to do next year, but I am so happy with how this turned out this year, considering that I have a 11-month-old baby that requires much of my attention, but I'm really happy with how this garden has turned out this year. Okay, so exiting my fenced-in garden, I have the rest of my cut flowers. Dahlias. Dahlias are such a special flower to me. I started planting dahlias when I was like 11 or 12 in a raised bed that my mom had at my house. And I just thought it was so awesome as a 12-year-old that a flower can grow the size of a dinner plate, and then you can dig up the tubers and grow them next year or the continuing years, and they just continue to give you more tubers. Here's some pollinators on my zinnias. Thank you. Thank you. Keep going, little bee. I planted my zinnias a little bit late this year, and I planted them in a spot that doesn't have as much light as they would prefer, so they're not massive, but I'm still happy with them. Next year, I will find a spot in my yard that has more consistent sunlight. Next year, I will be creating 2 more of these beds for more zinnias and dahlias, since I will be digging up these dahlias in the fall, dividing tubers so that I will have more plants. So these dahlias, the blooms look sparse right now, but in 2 weeks they will be in full bloom. They will just be gorgeous. I'm also cutting a lot of the blooms for my bouquets, so you just see a lot of green and less blooms right now. Dahlias love late summer when the nights are cooler. Okay, and then another thing I did earlier this spring, which I have a YouTube video about, is I divided about 6 of my peony plants and I planted them throughout my yard. This, out of my 6 peony plants, dividing the roots, I got I don't know, maybe 30 something plants. So I'm super excited about these. The grass around them needs to be weeded and mulched, which is on my to-do list. Peonies are just such a rewarding plant in my zone because they really don't need any attention. They don't need to be watered. Every year they get better and better. Right now mine look a little bit small because I divided the roots, but in 3 or 4 years, these peonies are going to be magnificent in the spring. Okay guys, that's about it for my gardens. I have my chickens over there, and I am just so happy with how the garden looks this year, 2025. It expanded and I have learned so much. I am learning my limits with gardening because of time and such. I'm learning what flowers are easy to grow for me, which ones are hard, what vegetables are easy to grow, which ones are hard. So thank you for coming along on this journey, and subscribe to see more. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below and like this video.